What's up, good people? It's your boy Don P. My prayer is that we continue to grow in our understanding to apply to our daily lives. Please like and comment on this video, share my page, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. My link will be down in the comments. Thanks in advance for all your support. I'm excited about day 11 of our 30-day resilience challenge, where as we continue on this journey, the commitment levels go up every single day. Even with any obstacle, we going all in no matter what. So today's topic, we're going to talk about being able to cope with grief, with our core value focused on grief and the definition for us to embody. The definition for grief is the raw, unfiltered chaos of human experience, a profound confrontation with our own mortality and the unavoidable loss that accompanies love. It shatters the illusion of control, forcing us to navigate a maze of emotions where joy and sorrow coexist, often in a haunting disarray. Grief is not merely a reaction to loss. It's a deep journey through the shadows of our hearts, challenging our beliefs, reshaping our identities, and revealing the fragility of existence. It demands that we sit with our pain, wrestle with our memories, and ultimately emerge transformed, carrying the weight of our loss as both a burden and a testament to the depth of our connections. In its most unsettling moments, grief teaches us that to live fully is to embrace the uncertainty of loss, and in that acceptance lies the possibility of healing. Now, as I reflected on my own journey, during this time I experienced great, grief or significant grief, from the loss of my mom, other close loved ones. It was a lot going on, even with finding out later that I was going to have heart surgery, as well as, choosing to retire after my mom had passed. So navigating grief is definitely an individual journey, and it's no right way to grieve, and it has deepened my empathy and understanding like never before, because 2021 was the hardest year ever. And it sucked because I had just came off of a career high, doing a lot of things to impact community, mission, people. Really, I felt like I was in purpose. So that was something that definitely, was hard to navigate those things. But I'll celebrate, kind of more on that on another day when I kind of talk about celebrating wins. I'm probably going to do this video kind of in two parts, because I normally try to keep these videos 5 minutes or under, but I definitely want to let this moment breathe, to really, really give it its due justice, to kind of really, really break down grief, how I, handle these scenarios and use resilience in my own life, as well as I wanted to break down the 5 stages of grief, and how I kind of, found myself, kind of going through these stages, grieving my mom. So the first stage kind of deals with denial, which is the initial stage. Individuals may struggle to accept the reality of the loss. Denial acts as a defense mechanism, allowing them to process the overwhelming emotions at their own pace. This may involve feelings of shock or disbelief. So I know the night of, that we got the call, we was out, eating dinner. I think we had just got finished eating dinner. Me and my family at a restaurant, and we got a call, that my mom, had passed, so this was definitely, for me, I was in a state of shock, unbelief. So I found myself, in this denial stage, not really understanding, had questions, because the tough part about this was that, we was pretty much going to get my mom a few days after she passed, so to be able to bring her home with us for my son's birthday. So that was very tough, trying to really, really process that. I think in the moment, my brain really was still really in a state of shock. She had just got home, from having a procedure, getting some fluid off of her. And she was, telling us that she was in the best, she felt the best that she's felt in a real, real long time, was able to walk, the halls with, no breathing issues, and she felt good and was at peace. So like to hear, that she passed within, 12 hours of coming home was definitely very hard to really kind of just understand exactly kind of what was going on. And honestly, with my mom being 56, like, I just didn't think, at 56 that, I would hear that my mom was no longer going to be here. I definitely thought I always had way more time that I would be able to spend with her. With my mom, my grandmother, her mom passed, in her 80s. So it was heartbreaking to really, really try to process that. You know what I mean? It was, I definitely went through some crisis of belief. And I feel like I have a strong faith in God and different things like that as well. But with this, it was just really trying to understand the scenario. So the second stage is anger. So I definitely found myself, there often in this first few months, definitely, as I was just processing all of this, and it says, as the reality of the loss begins to set in, individuals may experience feelings of anger or frustration. This anger can be directed towards themselves, others, or even the person or situation that caused the loss. It's a natural reaction to the feeling of being powerless or unfairly treated. So like for me, the feeling of being powerless, definitely was angry. Thinking like, was it something that the doctors could have did? Could they have let us know? Did she not want us to know if something was going on? So it just, had a lot of questions. But I think the anger piece that I kind of really dealt with this would be more so being angry at myself, So even though I've been there for my mom a lot, over the years, especially, even since we've been back from Japan, but all of those things don't measure up to like the one time that you wasn't there. So like for me, I could have did 1,000 things, but the one time that, I couldn't be there, that's what I did. That's what I beat myself up. It was a lot of blame, a lot of guilt, a lot of shame. A lot of just angriness at myself. And I also was angry, even with my military career and how, now being in the military over 20 years, a lot of sacrifices, and the motto of, service before self and a lot of those things, a lot of anger just kind of rose up, in me because for one, being in the military, you don't have a lot of time to really reflect. You kind of going from one task to the next task. So at least for me, I was always moving, doing the next thing. How can I help the next project? Help the next group of people. How can I impact people? Whether that was, in my shop, bigger scope, or whatever. It just never ending thing, So you kind of look at, all your blood, sweat, tears, time was spilt in, pushing missions, taking care of people that really is not your blood family. You know what I mean? So a lot of times you feel like, okay, you working 10 hours or whatever a day, pouring all your time, everything you got, into military families and just everything that kind of goes with it. And I don't regret it, but it kind of just looks back at my focus. My priorities was off. I was, because of how I'm wired, of is go all in or nothing. You know what I mean? So I kind of go full speed, full throttle all the time. I don't really know how to not give my all. So that is something that I definitely looked at. And now you're looking like, man, you can't get back time, with your mom, birthdays, Christmases, that we were gone or whatever, being deployed or overseas, or schedules not, linking up, whenever she was going on cruises and different things like that, so those were the times that I really was able to kind of just, your mind was able to go back down memory lane of just how your life have went over the last 20 years. So you definitely, for me, I beat myself up. I was angry with myself, angry with, joining the military to an extent. Now, I know this made, I'm definitely thankful for a lot of the things that the military was able to afford and a lot of those different things. So I don't take none of that away. I guess just for me, it was just all about priorities. After my mom passed, my priorities definitely shifted, so it taught me more to pour more into my family. At the end of the day, military is just a job. I'm gonna leave this point at some time, at some point, but my family's always going to be here. And it's, for me, it's sad that it took me 20 years to really, really be face to face with that. You know what I mean? I feel like, at times I definitely would pour in. I know my family didn't always come first when it comes to certain positions that I was in. I had to give up my time. But in this, it taught me in a different sense of even though this might be a mission thing or whatever, if something comes up, hey, you got to get somebody else to do it. And I don't think in the military that's not really modeled and pushed a lot. You hear some people talk about it, but that's not culture. Especially being in the career fields that I was in, we were heavily high tempo, career fields. Every base that I was at was very high tempo, especially, my last 10 to 15 years, I was always in high tempo positions. So it was never really downtime. It was always moving to the next or fixing something, creating new processes, new programs, new initiatives. But in this, it just, really let me just sit back and examine where my priorities were. So, after my mom passed, with the anger and all of the things that I had towards myself, towards my career, my choices, and all of those different things, I was done with the military. So I was looking to retire. But the sad part, even in that, where the anger was coming up, it's some people, I think in the beginning, people are kind of there, and giving condolence and all of those things. So I feel like the initial brunt of this, but, after, a month, 2 months, now that I'm really, really setting into this thing of my mom is not going to be here, that's really when I needed leadership, people, to take care of me how I've always took care of other people. So I was faced with a reality that you're just a number, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, the mission is going to keep going on. And I had to learn that even though I was in high leadership in our squadron level, but when it was time for me to say, no, I need to take a knee, I need to actually focus on me, self-care, and now priorities are different for me. Like, I'm looking to retire. I was projected to deploy before my mom passed, and I was all for it. I was ready to deploy. I was ready to go, serve, being in a new career field, being in medical, and all of that. So, like, I'm always up for the challenge. But after mom passed, I had none of that in me. Now, I'm going to still do my job, but the dude that was giving 300%, like, I don't have it, especially when I know you don't have my best interests at heart. So, like, figuring out that, commanders and people in leadership, you more focused on trying to deploy me versus caring about my well-being. Am I depressed? Am I suicidal? Or any of those things? You didn't really care. It's like those things really made it easier for me to know, like, yeah, it's time to retire. It's time to hang these boots up and move on. Really make my family a priority, make myself a priority, set some healthy boundaries. So it was painful to kind of go through that, especially when, you came here and created a lot of things, set a lot of initiatives in order, helped a lot of people in the team win a lot of awards and different things like that or whatever, that I feel like is very beneficial, because at the end of the day, the team works hard. We put forth effort, so I believe people should be recognized when they do hard work. So, like, all of that, I would do that 100 times over. But when you kind of look back and see, all right, now when I actually need you to be here to support me, to support my decisions, you're not here. So that was something that I definitely had a bad taste in my mouth for leadership. I already had a bad taste in my mouth for my sacrifices being in the military. So, like, for me, I was already done. It was no more of the gung-ho, bleed blue, all of those different things or whatever. It was more so, all right, I've done my time. I've gave everything I got. Now it's time for a new season, a new chapter in my life or whatever. And to find out that people were trying to block the retirement, that also let me know, like, it's time. It's time to move on. But I definitely trusted God that He was going to work everything out. But everything happened the way that it happened, because probably had it not happened, I probably would have chose to stay in, to continue down this path. But with my mom passing, I had no interest of doing any more years in the military. So anger for me definitely came up, and really had to process those things and to get over things and to really focus on therapy, inner healing, letting things go, the rejection, grief of, now you about to retire from the military, your whole way of life is going to shift and be different. So, like, all of those things I had to go through. So the third phase of the grief stages are bargaining. So in this stage, individuals may attempt to regain control or find a way to reverse the loss by making deals or promises, often with a higher power. Thoughts of, if only I had done this differently, or I will change if I can just have them back, are common during this phase. So, this is definitely a phase that I went in thinking, like, man, had I went home, would things have been different? Would she still be here? So part of it kind of sucks, because all during this season, being in the military, we were kind of on lockdown during COVID. So, like, I wasn't able to go home as frequently, as I wanted to be able to, see what's going on with her health, going to her doctor's appointments and different things like that or whatever. So, like, during this time, as far as I know, everything was going good. And I think I kind of already mentioned, she basically, while she was in the hospital, she was feeling the best that she ever felt in a long time, of being able to walk the halls without no breathing problems. She felt good. She was at peace. Even with relationships, inner healing, forgiveness, all of those things. So like she was in a great place in her life. So like for me, I just wouldn't have never thought that would have been her time. So like how, after talking with people going through counseling, of course, had I known if it could have been even a chance that she could have passed at any time or whatever, I would have dropped everything, but in that moment, I was focused on initiatives that we were doing during this time or whatever. So it was, things that I was working on at the wing base level or whatever. So it was things that I was like, man, had I just stepped away, could things have been changed or whatever. So this is kind of the bargaining stage or whatever. I would do anything to bring Miles back. But the fourth phase is kind of dealing with depression. I definitely went through a deep depression, during this stage, and just trying to really process emotions and feelings. And I definitely made a promise to myself, though, that I wouldn't run from the emotions. I would, even though I wasn't an emotional person, touchy-feely and, mushy and all of those different things, like that's just not how I was raised. But I made a promise that whatever feelings would come, I would have to deal with. I would want to deal with. I would want to understand. I would want to process these emotions. When I felt, that I needed to cry or whatever, or scream or be angry, I wanted to face these things head on, to really process this, in my body, to get things out, not to bottle things up, to be truly honest, not to just suppress things and kind of just keep pushing to the next thing, that was the norm, for the most part. But in a situation like this, I wasn't going to be able to do anything like that, so I definitely wanted to face everything. I wanted to feel whatever I needed to feel to get through this process. Like at the end of the day, I always knew I wasn't going to stay there, but I wanted to be true, be present, and feel everything that I needed to feel while I was in it. So depression is as the individual begins to process the reality of the loss. Deep feelings of sadness may emerge. This stage often involves mourning the loss and reflecting on what life would be like without the person or thing that has been lost. It can feel isolating and overwhelming. So these are definitely thoughts that I went through, like first birthdays, first Christmases, first Mother's Day, all the big events, and even during this time, like I was coming up on a retirement. I didn't know how to grieve and celebrate that great milestone. I didn't want a retirement ceremony. I didn't want anything. I wanted to just really fade to the black and be gone. So that's kind of how I did everything. It was, I'm thinking, how can I really celebrate my retirement, and my mom is not going to even be at my retirement ceremony. So like, trying to process those things was tough, and even I believe I mentioned a little earlier, we had some other loved ones pass as well. So not only did my mom pass, and then I had to have open heart surgery on my birthday that year. My wife's grandmother on her dad's side passed on my birthday. So this is somebody that I was real close with. At this point, it's been over 15 years that I've known her. She spoiled me and catered to me, and, it really made me feel like family. So like, it was really hard to even celebrate my birthday, knowing that she passed on the day. Now, she lived a long, blessed life in her 90s, but not really understanding how to really process this yet. I really just wanted to just chill. It wasn't really about celebrating or whatever. until I really learn how to two things can coexist to the point to where, yes, I can grieve my own situation or grieve with someone, but then I can also celebrate with someone or celebrate myself, being able to hold space for both of those, so therapy and just different training and inner healing journeys and courses and different things like that really, really kind of help me understand to process these things. So let's see. So the fifth one for grief is acceptance. So this is the final stage that involves coming to terms with the loss. This doesn't mean that the individual is okay with it, but rather that they have found a way to live with it. Acceptance allows for the possibility of moving forward while still cherishing the memories and emotions associated with the loss. So I definitely got to this stage of really being able to come to an acceptance. Like, you never really will get over it, but you do learn how to live, to still pull yourself up out the slump or pull yourself up out of the depression or the weight that's dragging you down, because at times, you feel like you just want to go, put yourself in a fetal position and just go into a cave and hide and just soak and I feel like that is okay too if that's what you choose to do. It's okay to cry, to scream, to do what's necessary to grieve the way that you need to grieve to get everything that you need out of it, But for me, I know that I needed to move forward too, in a sense of still being able to be present, for my family, my wife, my children, my siblings, you know what I mean? So like at the same time, yes, I learned how to process to the point to where, yes, I could still grieve and then I could still be there and be a present husband, a present father, a present brother, to help, be there for everyone, to the point where, yes, you can't just not do anything. But I think proper training, proper therapy, processing this, being able to talk your thoughts out definitely really helped me be able to really come up out of these scenarios to the point to where you grow. I've always had a mindset of having a growth mindset. So even with this, I'm up for the challenge to what can I learn out of this? How can I be better? How can I have more empathy for other people, more understanding for other people? Because before this, I didn't always understand that, did it take all that or whatever the situation was? Should it take several years or whatever? But when you really, really lose someone that close, now I understand, of what everybody went through, that whatever their scenario with, like, it's no wrong way to grieve. Everybody grieves in a different space. And I really had to learn that, with my mom, this was different. I was very close with my grandmother, my grandfather, and all of those things I think really hurt when I went through those things when I was younger. But military, I think, kind of helped you, in a sense, not dwell on it too much. I don't think you fully ever get over it, but in a sense of I was still able to move forward and not fall in the hole. But in this sense, it was no pushing forward. I didn't want to just keep doing what I was doing. I didn't have that in me. None of that mattered anymore. Like, my perspective changed to the point, like, I didn't care about any of that. I wanted to use all my leave and all of that, to make sure I'm off. I'm going to take everything that I got, everything I need, the time that I need to really, really grieve, to think, the process. So when I do come back, yes, I'm going to still be grieving, but I can still be here and give my all, you know what I mean, when I am at work. But like any of the extra stuff that I normally would do and staying late and all of those different sacrifices that I would do because that's who I am as a person, I wasn't doing any of that. It just depends on the relationship. Now, certain people, yes, I would still do things and sacrifice for, but like just in general, I already knew I'm about to retire. Like my mind is, I'm already out of here. I'm gonna do the best that I can here, but I'm not taking on anything new. And at the end of the day, once you know, like, yeah, you just a number. You know what I mean? So the mission can keep functioning without me. So I don't need to, strategize and create and how my brain is normally wired. Like I'm not really, as long as y'all handling things, and I feel like that's what we supposed to do even before something has to happen, to where we're training our replacements, everybody is prepared. So like people can kind of keep going on. It's not just dependent upon me. So like I didn't feel no type of way. I felt like, hey, I'm gonna take care of me, my family, and I'm focused on how I can actually focus on what this next chapter is gonna kind of look like. So that's kind of what kind of came out of this, with the acceptance piece of grieving, and for me, wanting to, celebrate my mom's accomplishments, her living her best life, going on all the trips that she did. So she lived a full life. So even though I always felt like she would live a longer life, but I was able to celebrate all of the accomplishments that she was able to do, from what she came from to where she finished off at. Those are the things that I choose to focus on and to want to carry on her legacy. So that kind of came out of the acceptance. So that's pretty much still just a snippet. I gave a little bit of a synopsis of what kind of went on during this season of grief, because I really wanted to embrace it and give it the due justice that it needed. Because grief is a tough thing, so even though this is still just a snippet, I wanted to share just a little bit more than what I normally do. So throughout this month, I'll continue sharing my experiences and insights for building resilience. Together, we'll explore how to rise above adversity and turn our challenges into stepping stones for growth. Continue to commit to the journey, because I'm a living witness and testimony of like these resilience principles and tools, and having a growth mindset and wanting to overcome challenges. Like all of these things actually work when we actually want to utilize these things to come up out of any situation that we're going through. So definitely share with anyone that you think can benefit or value can be added, and let's empower each other to cultivate resilience in our lives. So I want to ask, what's one way of how you cope with loss? So share your thoughts and experience in the comments, and I definitely look forward to hearing a response so we can have dialogue, whether it's in the comments or even offline 101, to go into a deeper conversation. Be sure to stay tuned to my page, and I encourage you to look with intention for one new way of how you can embrace grief or cope with grief, whether that is a loss of a loved one, loss of a relationship, a change in career, anything in your health. Like all of these things are different ways of how, when we grieve properly, we can overcome these scenarios, to where we can be a better person, learn from them, to be able to help someone else along the journey. Tomorrow will be day 12. When we'll discuss more about kind of my open heart surgery that I had. Have a blessed one, and let's get it.